So what we have here is a Harvard 420M. I could be rude and say a real radio, a Harvard 420M, and it's come in, I think it came in end of last week, and this gentleman sent loads of stuff in. I can't remember whether he's hobbyist or whether he's trade, but he has sent loads of stuff in. I'm doing this well out of sequence. This is actually the newest set to arrive for service. There are some walkie-talkies in front. We've got a realistic TRC 1001 in. We've got some Harvard 020s in, and I'm skipping around this for a reason. The reason being, I have got a Harrier CB8HQ in for repair, which is this nicotine-infested set here, and unfortunately, some Wally has turned it into an illegal 80 channel set, which I've of course had to remove all the junk out of to try and turn it back into a normal legal set. And the snag is the modification they've done has destroyed some of the other electronics. So I thought, hang on a minute, we've got here this Harvard 420M, which is the same innards, Cybernet 134 chassis. If I fix this, I can borrow this to do some special voltage readings which aren't in the service manual, and hopefully I can fix that Harrier CB8HQ by doing that, because it's a pain in the whatsit if you've got to dismantle your own Harrier CB8HQ to try and put that back to standard for the customer. So I've spent 90 minutes on that, and I don't want to go around in circles wasting time, so we'll do this instead. You can see what I'm doing now while I'm paving the way. I may have to put in fact I think we will put the Harrier on one side. We'll put this on one side as well when we've actually done the video on it. I must do the walkie-talkies because they've been in for 10 days. We like to do a 28-day turnaround, and at the moment I can only spend 45 minutes a day on CB radios, because we're in the middle of 3 organ restorations, and I'm talking about that will take more than a year. So try and get these out of the way, in other words. It did come with a bit of a power lead. It did, honest. That's my power lead. Oh well, we'll find his power lead. I would say between these and the Rotel 230, this looks nicotined as well, I would say these are my favourite CB radio. The same set, you know, this and the Harvard and the Rotel 230 are the same set. It's just different make on the front. I think you get an extra knob on this one as well. I was also passed a Harvard Good Buddy, which is, as you will know, are not a good set, and I really want to do a video on that, but so time's now the problem. Phew, doesn't stink as bad as that other one though. Right, well, I think what we'll do is, I'll just make sure I can't see anything illegal in there. I think what we'll do, we'll just do a performance check as it comes. But I don't think it came with a mic, but that's my mic. I need to plug in the sine nav meter. Never remember which socket it is. It's that one on these. I can't see any dodgy looking capacitors. I can't see anything dodgy looking. In fact, it looks a lovely set inside. It just got a bit of nicotine on it. So let's make sure the controls are somewhere sensible. Squelch down, we'll have tone up, RF gain up, that off, that on, that off. Switch on, 13.8 volts, switch on the radio, it's on 37. Put it on channel 20. I'll get a piece of paper, which is usually last week's hymns. It is. So Mr. Chippy's not here, he comes back on Tuesday. So if we can get this working, we'll scratchy corner this on Tuesday. But keep it as long as we need it within reason. Ha ha ha. Harvard 420 M. So, all eyes on that meter, which we will now switch on picture in picture. So, in this, we're going to put it on the 3 watt scale. So, full scale deflection will be 3 watts, and it's 3 watts. So, let's look on the 30 watt scale. So now that's the 5 watt position, so that's the 4 watt position. It's 3 watts. So that's the start. Let's look at deviation. Wallow, it's 2.2. So that's actually okay. Just going to have a little tiny fraction bit more out of it. I'll just set that for a start where we want it to be. Frequency. Switch the camera over to the frequency counter. So it's 27,79072. And it should be 27,79125. So we'll just pop that up a fraction. It's within tolerance. It's not off frequency type of off frequency, if you get my drift. But we will nevertheless pull it up if I could only find a trimming tool. I've got paint all over my arm. I've been on the scaffold. I've got one of those scaffold towers. And this new building which we're having built, there's a great big RSJ on the roof ridge, because it's an apex roof which is open construction, so the pipe organ going in the building can go up into the roof space. And it's a requirement as the building code that if you have a RSJ, a girder, it has to be painted with a fireproof paint that if it catches fire, not the girder, if the building catches fire, this fireproof paint expands to about 100 times its volume, its current normal volume. And I ordered this paint, £75 a tin type of stuff, 2 tins of it, and I had every intention of painting this girder when it was on the ground, waiting for the crane to come. You know, there was going to be 10 days when it was on the ground, as it was ordered in advance, like you do when you're sensible. Anyway, I'd ordered this paint 6 weeks in advance of the crane arriving, so I thought, well, I'm going to have a couple of weeks I can paint this thing on the ground. I think it's 2 coats of the first one and 2 coats of the second one. Anyway, cut a long story short, the paint arrived last week, 7 weeks later, and there's nothing you can do about it. I can't start chasing people. They said I did chase them, and I said, "Has it gone out?" Yes, it's got. The top coat, which we've asked for black, was still being manufactured. So, these things happen. So, this blooming beam's now right up at the apex of a tall building. I've had to put the scaffold tower out, and I'm happy to do it on my own. And I could. It's taken 3 hours to do each coat. I've got to keep moving the scaffold down the building, which is 24 foot long. Anyway, that's told you about my building dilemma. And of course, if I got the builders people to do that, they'd charge me an arm and a leg. They wouldn't do it off my scaffold tower. They'd want proper scaffolding at 750 quid and things like that. Right, so we'll just pull that frequency up. Always the wrong way. that'll do. I normally have a fraction high, but that's spot on. Okay, we'll go back to the other meter. I think we're going to the Cybernet meter now, which I'll remember to switch on. Okay, the camera's moved slightly. Not that camera, this camera. Right. So we want 2779125 on the signal generator. We want the radio on channel 20. You know, there's times you have so many sets that are a bit on the deaf side that you start to think it's the test equipment playing up, and then you get this coming in and it restores your faith in your test gear. So for 12 dB it's doing 0.45 microvolts. RX 0.45 microvolts for 12 dB Cybernet. Make sure we're in the right scale. Yep, we're in the right scale because we've got a 10 times scale. Great, and we can hear that down to about 0.2. Excellent. So it just needs a general service, doesn't it? So we'll start by making sure that the VCO is set. We'll pop the picture-in-picture off. We don't need that right now. We'll switch our favourite Aldi multimeter on, or is it is Work Zone Aldi, or is it Lidl? Somebody said to me once, and they weren't in the UK. Somebody was trying to take the Michael, and they said, because we've got the Avos and we've got all that kind of stuff, but this is convenient and cheap. They're about $15.99, and he says something like, you know, something really derogatory, like, you know, you pretending to run a business with a £15 meter. So I went straight on AliExpress and got a £2.99 meter, and for the next number, I don't know where I've put it, it's probably one of the out and about boxes. And so for the next dozen videos I was using the £2.99 meter because it makes no difference whatsoever. So I always have to get the service manual out. Sibs and my mind are directly related. I've got a better copy than this as well. Somebody felt so sorry for me. They sent me a lovely copy, and I do have that, but it's this one that's kicking around. I think it's channel 40 we start off on. So channel 40 selected, and test point 1 on receive 4 volts. I've just remembered we need to, it's not a negative earth, is it, on these sets? I'll just prove it. Oh, it is. I thought it was a floating one on these. It is. So, on receive, we need 4 volts. So we'll just pop that up a fraction, and it's the coil T1, the VCO coil. They don't always work out exactly what the manual says, but experience tells us when it's right and when it's wrong. So, test point 1, put the unit into transmit, and then adjust CT1 also for 4 volts. So go into transmit, trouble is it's in the middle of this wax, isn't it? It's not always easy to get a connection. So it's 2.9. So just pop that up with the red trimmer. So that'll do, that's near enough 4 volts. Go back to receive, it's still 4 volts. Go to transmit, it's now 4 and a bit volts. Okay, then we go to channel 1, and we've got to check that it's between 1.8 and 2.5 volts. And that on receive is between 1.8 and 2.5, and on transmit is between 1.8 and 2.5. Don't know why it changes on transmit, but it does. So we've set the VCO, and the reason we do that is otherwise, and bearing in mind these sets are now 40 years old, you can end up in different temperatures in a car where you may find upper channels dropping off or lower channels dropping off, and that's so that it tracks properly. So we can put that meter away. Thank you, Aldi. So now it's a matter of doing the tune-up. So we'll switch picture in picture back on. So full scale deflection is 3 watts, as I said. So we'll just go through these coils. Feel the core in that one. That's that. Now we move on to the other ones, and I've either got a green trimming tool or a blue trimming tool for these. Well, we've got a green one here, but I think it's one of the more worn ones, so let's see whether we can get it to fit. No, it's as loose as anything. That's not loose on that one. We'll get that to full, which is where it was. It doesn't fit that one. There's a bit of wear there. So I'm going to still have to go and find the other one. Right, see whether we can actually move the coil. We can. So we're looking for maximum. That's 4.4 watts. We'll just check that other one. Just back check that first one. So that's 4.5 watts. So what we've got to do, you can usually get 4 watts out of these sets. So what we have to now do is balance it. So rotate L4 clockwise until we get 4.4 volts. So it's, remember, it's 4.5 clockwise, so it's 4.4, which it now is. And then rotate L9 counterclockwise till we get 3.8 watts. Well, we're not going to do that because we want the customer to have 4 watts. It's all right them wanting it to be absolutely under, but no, they're going to get their money's worth. And you know what I've gone and done? I've just gone and tuned that up on channel 1. So we'll just start again. So maximum. I'll go through those again. I'll tell you what, it's not doing 4.4 anymore. So it's not now doing 4.4, so we're going to set the first one so it just starts to alter, which is now there, and then anti-clockwise to the 4, and hopefully we're somewhere near on channel 1 and 40. So channel 1, it's bang on 4 watts. Channel 40, it's bang on 4 watts. Channel 20, it's bang on 4 watts. My goodness, I've got one right for once. So we want the meter to read something like bangs across. It's that one, isn't it? Silly me. So now that reads 4. That was low power I inadvertently messed up. So switch that on. Should be 0.4 of a watt. And there we have 0.4 of the watt because I'm on the 3 watt scale. So that's now 0.4. So if we now bangs across on the 3 watt scale and 4 watts on the 30 watt scale. So deviation wasn't far out. So we'll get our little oscillator and we'll just pop that up a fraction. Wallow, a fraction more. Wallow, that's it, 2.2 to 2.5. It's a nice radio. So it's now doing 4 watts. So it's done that, it's on frequency, it's now 2.2 to 2.5. Done that. I'm glad it's only wanted a service. He'll be gagging to have this back, won't he, when he sees how well it works? But say we can't really do it till Mr. Chippy's done it on the air test. So, and I want to borrow it for those voltage readings. Right, we'll get on to the receiver. So we'll start by putting an S9 equivalent signal of 100 microvolts on the test set and switching to the oscilloscope and turning the bench light off so we can see the oscilloscope trace. I knew it was there somewhere. So the oscilloscope is just across the extension speaker, as is the Cynad meter. There's nothing clever about it, it's only looking at audio. Don't think for a minute you need an oscilloscope that can read 27 megs. A 1 meg oscilloscope is adequate. This happens to be a 10 meg oscilloscope. These were new last year, and they are some cheap Chinese ST16s because I particularly wanted CRT oscilloscopes. The trouble with digital instruments is the latency. You know, it's a just wait, a just wait, a just wait. I haven't got time to wait. That's why we're using the Marconi test set we're using, and that's why we're using these analog instruments. So what we're going to do is set the detector. Got a loose connection there on the test gear. So I'm wanting absolute maximum recovered audio. In actual fact, I have gained a fraction, but wouldn't make any difference to performance. So we'll go to the Cynad meter. Put the bench light back on so I can actually see what I'm doing, and let's see whether we can get a little bit more out of this receiver. Honestly, I doubt it. So the first one on the front end is this coil. If I could get the tool to actually go in. Well, I go to the bottom of our stairs, and I haven't got it. I live in a bungalow. It's a vast improvement. Well, I never. Tiny improvement on that one. Tiny improvement on that one. We'll turn the signal back down a bit. Though we probably need more signal for these. I think we'll use this tool for these. put more signal on for this adjustment. Drop that off a bit, and then finally that one. There we go, we're set. So let's have a reading now of what we're doing. So for 12 dB cyanide, we've now got 0.3 microvolts. Now, I'm between scales. So let's go on the higher scale. It says 0.29 microvolts on the next scale up. So we'll give it the worst one. We'll quote the worst one, which was 0.3. So for 10 dB, it's 0.26. And I'm doing this in EMF mode. If I did it in PD, it would be better. And then for 20 dB cyanide, if it will do it, it is 0.95 microvolts for 20 dB. Now, what's the manufacturer say? Mind you, it might be bull. He says better than 1 microvolt for 20 dB. Well, it is. It's 0.95, so it exceeds the specification. Not bad when it's 40 years old. So we need to do the Squelch. What a lovely radio. I may as well turn the oscilloscope off and save electricity. So what we're going to do is we'll switch the signal generator off. We'll put the Squelch to full. Let's put this on the attenuator controls if we can actually see them for all the junk. I want this radio to be an S9 on maximum Squelch. So 1 microvolt, 3 microvolts, 10 microvolts, 30 microvolts, 100 microvolts is S9 for a CB in the UK, and it doesn't come in, so that does need adjusting. So it's the preset there. You know what? I don't know what I'm doing today. It's a bit late, it's 8 o'clock. I've never turned the signal generator back on. So I don't know whether it was right or wrong now. Anyway, it's coming in as 100 microvolts now. I've adjusted it. So once again, we'll switch the signal generator to standby, turn the Squelch down, set threshold, and see when it comes in. So it's parked at 0.3 of a microvolt. Switch on. So it's coming in 0.45 of a microvolt, and it's disappearing off about 0.39. Now, they're not the best Squelch in the world, these sets. They're certainly competent, but they're not the best Squelch in the world. I don't know which sets are, but because it's a level Squelch rather than a noise Squelch. So that's working fine. We never will know now whether it was correct before, but never mind. That's me. So then we're going to put S9 back on the signal generator with the 100 microvolt signal. We need to make sure the needle is reading S9. It's just slightly low. It's reading about S8.5. So with the adjustment there, we'll just put the needle where we want it, which is now bang on the S9. And that's it, we're done. We'll turn the gear off. if I can remember how. What we will do, I'm not putting the radio back together for the reason I told you, but we will just put it on the aerial and see whether we can hear any good buddies out there, or even bad buddies. One niner, Roger. Notice he's off frequency because he's using an illegal radio. One day somebody will tell me what echoes are all about. Because I'll tell you what, when they start having them on space missions and in ambulances and police cars and the fire brigade, it would obviously be a good idea, wouldn't it? So obviously it isn't a good idea, otherwise they'd be doing that. So I don't know what it's about, it just makes it sound dreadful. So there we are, a very, very nice Harvard 420M which performs beautifully. I wish new sets, any new set, would perform as well as that, but they don't. And I also don't think the new sets which we've been looking at will be lasting 40 years either. We've got a Cobra 19, that 2014 model. I don't think we're going to be able to fix it. Somebody put a comment on one of my videos about a Cobra 19. I don't expect his will work. Not good, is it? We started with TTIs with microphonic VCOs when they were only about 3 or 4 years old. So there you are. We'll have to look at these radios with rose tinted spectacles, and when you think how many of these have, not particularly this model but in general, 80s sets have been scrapped because people think newer is better, and it isn't. So there we are. Thank you for watching. I think we'll be putting that Harrier base station on one side, we'll be putting this on one side, and we'll better get on with some walkie-talkies because I really want the customers to get them back, because I'm just so inundated with my normal work in the church pipe organ business. Thank you for watching.